In the echoing chambers of the gym where sweat mingles with the burning fire of determination, the relentless pursuit of physical perfection unfolds a tapestry of human desire, ambition, and temptation. And the world of bodybuilding, celebrated for its discipline and dedication, harbours a darker side, a canvas where the 7 deadly sins intertwine to form an intricate portrait of human nature. On his excellent channel, Big Craig showcased a lineup of modern-day influences, embodying the sinful 7, but this video delves deeper into the competitive realm of 90s bodybuilding, a time when the pursuit of physical excellence often collided with the darker forces of pride, greed, sloth, wrath, lust, envy, and gluttony. In this era where names like Dorian Yates and Flex Wheeler reigned supreme, the pursuit of greatness came at a cost measured not only in titles won, but in personal sacrifices made. It's a journey through the iron-forged world of modern bodybuilding, where each sin finds its embodiment amidst the clanging of weights and the relentless pursuit of physical perfection.
Where are we? Venice. Why are we here? Because of me. What are we going to do now? We're going to follow me. Come on.
Throughout time, pride is the sin giving rise to all other sins. And in the eyes of the ancients, no sin was more punishable by the gods than that of hubris. Bodybuilders stand at the apex when it comes to the arrogant love of the self. The gym, once a temple of self-improvement, has transformed largely into a stage where egos are showcased and comparisons become the daily ritual. The sin of pride has found a home in every gym selfie and every mirror flex. Enter any gym and you'll witness a legion of weightlifters strutting around like peacocks in a poultry pageant. Mirrors no longer serve to check your form, they're for admiring the sculpture that is you. It's a world where the pursuit of perfection teeters on the precipice of hubris, and the quest for personal growth morphs into a relentless craving for validation and superiority. In the gym, pride operates as both the driving force and the silent saboteur, shaping the very foundations of bodybuilding at its culture. One such figure, Flex Wheeler, embodied the arrogance born of pride. Blessed with some of the most perfect lines and proportions the sport has ever seen, Wheeler's meteoric rise to the top was accompanied by a palpable veneer of deep-seated conceit and overbearing hubris. Yet, Wheeler's journey also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder that unchecked pride can overshadow the brilliance of any physique, leading even the most gifted astray. No one was more maligned for their insolent swagger than Wheeler, and even he admittedly concedes that his arrogance was a shield of insecurity wielded as cover for a traumatically dark past and gnawing lack of self-belief.
In bodybuilding, like I said, I came across very cocky, arrogant, because I was terrified. You know, any of the videos you watch, when I tapped a person on the stage next to me, you know, people looked at that like, wow, look how arrogant he is. You know, he's showing that he's better. No, actually it wasn't. I was trying to do like a sleight of hands. So if you're looking at us and I'm uncomfortable, if I put my arm around this guy, I just transferred all my energy to him. So now you're gonna look at him, you're not looking at me.
After a precipitous fall involving extensive soul-searching and exorcism of demons past, Flex is both redemptive and reflective of his many pride-fueled brushes with self-immolation. It would have been unfortunate that pride cost a physique of his caliber the status of a forever tarnished legend. But pride is but one thread in this tapestry of sin. Greed too holds sway over the world of bodybuilding, as athletes must navigate the fine line between ambition and avarice. Lou Ferrigno's story stands tall as a legendary bodybuilder whose greed's become a long-established and much maligned industry meme. Once the sympathetic underdog of Pumping Iron, and immortalized for his iconic portrayal of the Incredible Hulk, Ferrigno's fall from grace is marked by exploitative tales of charging young fans for photos, evading cameras, and dispatching security teams to chase down unauthorized snapshots. acts of pure greed that have shattered the public's goodwill and respect for the former star. Proving the only thing larger than Ferrigno's shoulder was the chip that's forever resided there. He returned in the early 90s to compete in a sport which had unflinchingly passed him by. Ferrigno therefore set his comeback sights on the Masters Olympia, which Joe Weider had undoubtedly both created and ordained for Lou as a slam dunk to win. Yet when the ageless Robbie Robinson emerged from the mountaintops of Europe, victorious in snatching the inaugural Olympia crown from Ferrigno's grasp, Lou's backstage tantrum at the loss of the prize that he perceived rightfully his revealed the true monster lurking beneath this fragile facade of a greedy man. But Ferrigno's greed also extended beyond the stage, manifesting in a series of bitter legal battles with his own family. Lawsuits against his father and brother over the use of the family name in their gym equipment business, followed by a dispute over the colour of the gym painted Hulk green, and most recently, legal action against his own daughter, alleging exploitation of his wife's condition, all underscore Ferrigno's relentless pursuit of wealth at any cost. Accusations of trapping his wife in a marriage to maintain control over their amassed assets have further tarnished Ferrigno's legacy, painting a portrait of a man consumed by his insatiable desire for wealth, and a tragic figure ensnared in the very greed he once condemned. In the end, Ferrigno's obsession with chasing the green has left him mired in a life of misspent misery, turning him into both a supervillain as well as a cautionary tale of the perils of unchecked avarice. And speaking of green-headed monsters, very few figures in the annals of bodybuilding stand as polarizing as that of Shawn Ray. The sin of envy represents a desire to obtain and possess what others have, and Ray's quest for the holy grail of bodybuilding, the coveted Olympia title, for Ray remained for him frustratingly forever out of reach. And while envy is a natural byproduct of human nature and the competitive spirit, the legendary Olympia champion Dorian Yates aptly described its double-edged power, capable of both propelling individuals to greatness and destroying them in the process. For Ray, envy undoubtedly drove him both to excel, but it also led to a legacy marked by bitterness, resentment, and fractured relationships.
Bodybuilding, you can look at it from two ways. You can look at it from an individual standpoint of making progress on an individual level and not trying to please everybody all of the time. Or you can self-destruct and get mad at the judges and lash out at the fans and get mad at your competitors because of your own shortcomings. I've turned bodybuilding into a positive for me. No longer am I doing it just for myself. I realize there's a lot of people pulling for me, supporting me. I'm trying not to let them down, but at the same time keep my head up and remember where I came from and keep my eye on where I'm going, and that is straight to the top of Mr. Olympia.
Renowned for his intelligence, articulate outspokenness, and calculating nature, Ray's career drew equal parts admiration and revulsion. Initially hailed as the golden boy of bodybuilding, Ray's outspoken critiques of the sport and his peers quickly earned him monikers like the fastest lip in the West and eventually the Mouth. To some, Shawn Ray embodied the mythological figure of Cassandra, a prophet cursed with the gift of truth, yet ignored for the foresight of her message. Others viewed Ray as motivated by a desperate desire to cling to the fading spotlight of relevance, leading to perceptions of envy-driven malevolence. Ray's sometimes insensitive, poorly timed, and malicious provocations nevertheless reflected a level of narcissism, ultimately earning him the label the most hated man in bodybuilding. Ray admitted these tactics as a form of calculated psychological warfare aimed at undermining his opponents, subverting their strengths, exploiting their weaknesses, and provoking their insecurities. In hindsight, many of Ray's criticisms ring true with the passing of time and hindsight, yet time will tell if his legacy emerges unscathed from the recent tarnish of his mostly valid, yet possibly envy-driven criticisms. While the world of bodybuilding glorifies the virtues of pushing one's physical limits, the insidious spectre of sloth lurks in the shadows, threatening to erode the disciplined foundations necessary to reach the Sisyphean summit of competitive bodybuilding's heights. The relentless grind undoubtedly wears on the mind, body and soul. Some succumb to the temptation of shortcuts, resorting to increased dosages, or coasting solely on favourable genetics. Others, having laid their groundwork, surrender to extended periods of sloth, disconnecting from the arduous endeavour altogether. Kevin Levroni's tale serves as one poignant example. Renowned for his dramatic off-season transformations, detraining and shrinking down to a mere shadow of his heroic former self, Kevin's complacency ultimately robbed him of his full potential in his pursuit of greatness.
So I'm not going to waste my time training on the off season if there's not a contest 6 or 7 months away. I just don't do that. I'll eat whatever I want. I won't train for 4 months, and then I'll come into the gym and I'll bust my ass for 4 months. So it's going to be a challenge.
The passage of time with its fleeting opportunities cast a lingering sense of unfulfilled potential, an gnawing shadow of doubt cast over his career, a sense of unfinished business that psychologically drove him towards a controversial comeback, albeit with a significantly diminished return to the stage. One can't help but wonder what might have been had Levroni committed all his effort and resources when the season was ripe. The Olympia record may well have been altered with Levroni's name written into the history books, accompanied by some sandals of his own.
I have better genetics than Dorian's. I never was 6-time Miss Olympia. He was. Because of his work ethic.
Lust, traditionally associated with intense sexual longing, can also be extended to encompass a broader yearning for sensory pleasure, indulgence, or excess in various aspects of life. When one pursues pleasure, whether through physical sensation, sensory experience, or similar gratification, it often marks the beginning of a perilous journey into hedonic desires, misplaced priorities, and a profound sense of existential emptiness. Chris Cormier's narrative embodies this lustful pursuit of sensual gratification. Delving deeper into this theme in my video, Sex, Lies and Muscle, Cormier openly acknowledges that his insatiable craving for earthly pleasures, particularly during the pre-contest period, may have ultimately compromised his potential for greater competitive success. In chasing after the fleeting thrills of the flesh, Cormier found himself at the crossroads, where indulgence clashed with ambition, potentially robbing him of the accolades he so fervently sought on the bodybuilding stage. Throughout history, many voices have cautioned against the corrosive nature of anger, with Mark Twain famously likening it to an acid that eats away at the vessel containing it, rather than its intended target. In the sanctum of self-improvement that is the gym, many seek solace and release from the pent-up emotions and frustrations of daily life. Yet the sin of wrath, with its association with anger and aggression, often casts a palpable shadow over the zero-sum game which is competitive bodybuilding. Within this arena of limited prize pools and subjective placings, camaraderie can swiftly morph into a battleground of status hierarchies, where perceived slights escalate into silent wars of dominance. Competitive rivalries, while often dramatic, can sometimes spiral into tragedy. None exemplifies this more than Craig Titus, whose wrath spilled over into devastating consequences, claiming lives and tarnishing his own legacy.
Does anybody believe this? Anybody? Get a monkey out! Jesus Christ!
Craig was infamous for his gym floor brawls, threats of violence towards other bodybuilding competitors and journalists, or indeed anyone who dared cross his path. A cocktail of androgens and recreational drugs fueled an ever-increasing paranoia, which culminated in the eventual unliving of personal assistant Melissa James. Craig was sentenced to a life behind bars, and even if Titus was perhaps innocent of the deed itself, it's inarguable that a lifetime of percolating anger and violence became the karmic manifestation of a life destroyed by the sin of wrath. The rigorous dietary restrictions of competition and disciplined nutrition often give way to a carnival of indulgence, where forbidden treats become the spoils of hard-fought battles of perseverance. Mountains of pizza, oceans of ice cream, and decadent feasts unfold in a celebration of excess. The sin of gluttony, typically associated with the overindulgence of food, transcends its culinary confines to encompass the feast of desires satisfied. For some bodybuilders, the off-season serves as a hedonistic counterbalance to the rigors of strict dietary sacrifice and restraint. Among them, Lee Priest stands out for his unapologetic embrace of culinary indulgence and dietary excess. His unabashed love for fast food saw him balloon to almost 300 pounds, a trajectory that invited speculation of imminent health disaster and threatened lucrative financial opportunities in the form of guest posing appearances, which he forewent in favour for his desires of the palate. Fortunately, Priest possessed the discipline and genetics to rein in his off-season indulgences, ultimately translating them into respectable competition placings. Yet one can't help but ponder what greater heights Priest might have achieved had he tempered his primal cravings. The 1990s bodybuilding scene, with its larger-than-life personalities and intense competition, serves as a microcosm of the human experience, a reminder that greatness often comes at a price. And as we reflect on these tales of sin and redemption, we're reminded that the pursuit of physical perfection isn't just a test of the body, but also of the soul. It's not merely the chiseled physiques or the gleaming trophies that define a champion, it's those who conquer their demons, rising above their base desires and temptations. Those that develop self-mastery over virtue and vice do so in the eternal struggle lurking within the shadows of the iron temples of each man's heart and mind. For in the pursuit of physical perfection, it is the strength of character forged in the crucible of adversity that ultimately separates the legends from the lost.